It is Thursday, so we are Trekker's Delight, and even though we're kind of in hiatus between new stuff, we do actually have some things to talk about. We've got a pretty exhaustive news list, courtesy of Keith, as always. Um, there might even be some photos. I think I might have managed technology, guys. Be really proud because I'm proud. As always, I'm Marie Brownhill. I am here with Keith Shovlin. We are Trekker's Delight, and yeah. Are we thinking beautiful bean footage?
Roll it.
Done. All right. Everybody note, I successfully did that with 0 issues. I mean, this shouldn't be as impressive as it is, honestly. I have a degree in digital forensics. You'd think that by now I could make StreamYard work, but apparently not. No. Not after a full day, apparently.
You're doing great so far, Marie.
Thank you, Keith. That is the affirmation I needed today. So last week we talked a little bit about Strange New Worlds. We talked a little bit about the issues facing Paramount Plus. So what does the news have for us today?
Well, first up, a story we've been following for the past few weeks. The petition online to bring about Star Trek Legacy with Terry Matalas as showrunner has surpassed 50,000 signatures. And it is actually, as of this morning, over 51,600. So they are now well on their way. Their new goal, as they said, is 75,000. The Strange New Worlds, well, when it wasn't titled that, the petition that brought about Strange New Worlds hit 35,000 before they made an announcement on that. So the fact, one reason they said that no announcement has happened yet is because of the writer's strike.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a convenient excuse. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm also not keen on breaking picket lines. I'm not going to lie.
True. Absolutely.
Because I do think that is in fact a worthwhile conversation, is to talk a little bit about what they're striking about and why.
Yeah, we barely touched on it last week. We talked about its effects on Star Trek, but not actually the purpose of the strike. So
right, and I think that's a very interesting question, because we're at this really fascinating nexus of technology and creativity and protecting our creatives.
Yeah, and there's a meme going around pointing out that if they decide to start using AI to write any of these TV shows, that those shows just need to be boycotted right out of the gate. Don't even try to watch them.
I gotta tell you, I'd be vaguely terrified about what an AI written TV show would look like.
Well, The Simpsons hinted at it with
Damn it, Marco! But all right, you were about to tell me that you were going to break my heart and tell me The Simpsons is AI written.
Well, no, there was a Simpsons episode where the comedy hosts on the radio station were being replaced by a machine, and it was just throwing out canned jokes about how Congress is a bunch of clowns, and the co-host is being replaced. Is like, how is it so topical?
I mean, yeah. But then again, I too have fed information into some of these chatbots and seen what has come out. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some interesting stuff I've seen in testing it.
But yeah. So before we get into the philosophical underpinnings of that and talk about how apparently Marco believes that there are 49,000 of me. Um, dude, that would make my life so much easier. If there were 49,000 of me, like my house would be so much cleaner than it is.
Well,
But what else is in our news queue?
all right. Well, there are a couple things that were left over from last week that I didn't get to. Alex Kurtzman will be hosting the Star Trek Masterclass at the Banff World Media Festival 2023, along with Shaniqua Martin Green, Tawny Newsome, Ethan Peck, and CBS Studios President David Staff. They'll be discussing the current golden age of Trek. And the festival is June 11th to 14th. Schedule currently lists masterclasses on the 12th at noon and the 13th at 2. So one of those two spots, I believe.
And where will that be?
In Banff in Canada.
Okay.
So virtual tickets are still available.
Awesome.
Yeah. An update on Star Trek Resurgence. It's still targeted for May 23rd for release on a PC-based game. They added a new section to it. Jonathan Frakes has recorded numerous sound bits as Captain Riker on the Titan and is now joining part of the gameplay.
Ooh.
So that's a little bit expanded there. Also in gaming, Star Trek Online has started its second multiverse story arc of the year last week, Unraveled. Your captain will lead a mission to stabilize the Nakul sun and can do so in an updated version of the Enterprise F, as seen in the Picard Season 3 penultimate episode. The arc will include a new episode, a new task force operation, 2 new patrols, a new lockbox, and Lobby store items. Star Trek Online is a free-to-play multiplayer game for PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One from Gearbox Publishing and Cryptic Studios.
And also expect 0 bridge lighting.
Yeah.
It's almost like they went the other direction, right? Like, I mean, we had too much lens flare under the Abrams security, and now it's just like, we can't be that, so everything must be dark. It's like, how the hell do you see your console, man? I know it lights up, but like when that thing goes to sleep, like, what are you doing?
In the latest update from Master Replicas and their sell-off of all the remaining items from Eagle Moss, they've included selling off more items that were not previously released prior to the demise of Eagle Moss. And this week, what will be available tomorrow, you'll be able to get in regular size the USS Enterprise NCC 1701J, as shown in Season 2 of Enterprise. The USS Titan, as seen in Lower Decks, and of course, along with the series of novels that came out after the Star Trek movie that shall not be named. A Springfield-class ship, the USS Chekhov. A Matt Jeffries Phase 2 shuttle concept, which was designed for the original second live-action TV show that would then, of course, became the movie. The ECS Horizon, which was one of the ships in the opening credits of Enterprise going to the moon. OV-165, a Cardassian Keldon-class ship. GOM-2 from Next Generation. Nomad from the original series. A Suliban shell ship from Enterprise, and a Vidian warship from Voyager.
Is it really sad that I'm most excited about Nomad?
Nomad did look pretty cool. In XL size, you'll be able to get La Sirena from Picard, a Nebula-class ship, the Bonjoon, the Oberth-class USS Pegasus from the infamous episode of Next Generation that was made worse by an episode of Enterprise. The worst episode of Enterprise, I should say. Yeah. The USS
The episode that shall not be named.
Yes. Although it had a great name. But yeah.
It did, man. It really, really did. And then it just like...
The only good thing about it is the last couple minutes. Everything else about it, bad. Yeah. The USS Equinox Nova-class ship from USS Voyager. From Voyager. The Enterprise E, as seen in the movies First Contact, Insurrection, and another one I can't remember the name of.
Y'all, Keith is really seriously trying to get on my good side. For which I am grateful.
Well,
for which I am grateful.
Should be on your good side, right?
I know, right? Like somebody.
All right. The Voyager and a Romulan warbird. Other things is the Tugukor orbital station, Klingon space station, also will be available tomorrow. From outside the world of Star Trek, we have a Cylon Heavy Raider from Battlestar Galactica, a 10th Doctor Mega statue from Doctor Who, and the Dragon Regal from Game of Thrones.
And obviously, Marco is no longer my friend.
Marco, it was a nice run, wasn't it? But all right. In other news, we actually had 3 Star Trek comics come out this week. We had the 8th in the main run Star Trek with Cisco in the lead. It's now on a countdown to the Day of Blood, which will be a crossover with 2 other series. One of those being Star Trek Defiant, the Worf-led series, that the 3rd issue came out this week. And then we have the 1st issue of Star Trek the Motion Picture Echoes, which is supposed to only run for 4 or 5 issues, but the art looks fantastic. As you would expect for a comic building off a motion picture, the most visually stunning of all the Star Trek movies.
Indeed.
And of course, one of the big news items that everyone's looking forward to us to talk about was they've been releasing more advertising in promoting Strange New World Season 2.
Yes, Strange New World Season 2. I am excited.
Yes.
I mean, and not just because I need something to talk about.
Yeah. And just so you know, I'm probably not going to be here the first 2 weeks because I'll be camping and in Canada.
So. Like, actually camping? Like,
yes.
That's terrifying.
I'm an Eagle Scout, so it's kind of what I do.
I need you to understand how terrifying that is.
Not at all.
I mean, we crawled out of the wilderness to create society, and yet we're going back?
Yeah. I actually sleep the best when I'm camping. Like, I can go to bed after midnight and wake up at 7 a.m. and be fully refreshed. Just get right up and start building a fire. And I know I'm crazy.
I can't even.
Yeah. But as part of the promoting Season 2, there was an ad that was released for Crave in Canada, which showed a brief flash from the highly anticipated crossover episode with Star Trek Lower Decks. And we got our first image of Beckett Mariner and Bradward Boimler in live action.
And this is where Keith is not so subtly hinting that I need to do this.
Fingers crossed that this works. There it is.
Here we go.
And there they are.
And the thing is like, you can barely see them.
Yes. And it was like a half second that it was part of the ad, and it was only on the Canadian ad, and it's caused everybody else to go crazy.
Because I gotta tell you, like, when you were like, did you download the image? I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Why do I care? And then I looked in the back. I'm like, oh, those people have the Lower Decks white stripe. I gotcha now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, clearly I'm killing it.
It's okay. But
this right here, this is why Marco and I are friends. You have once again crawled back into my good graces, Marco.
You know, what's funny is I'm actually going to be camping this weekend as well. And with my daughter's Cub Scout pack. And they usually set up a bunch of grills and do hot dogs and hamburgers for the adults, but they couldn't get all the grills lined up, so we're going to be doing pizza.
Pizza?
So camping with pizza.
That is the way to camp. Yeah. That is the way to camp.
Hey, William.
Hey, how's it going?
And Will Walford has future Trek star. Like, and I love that you made that one word, by the way, because it sort of sounds like you're your own spaceship.
Honestly, I didn't think of it like that, and I'm here for it. I like that.
Well, you created it, so I would think you'd be here for it.
Yo, I'm like, Marco, I missed you, bro. Please message me. You know, you see my room and stuff. I miss you. So, yeah.
And that got creepy real fast. Well done, William. Well done.
Damn. See, I wasn't even trying. Like,
I'm going to remind you, he's a married man.
But is he happy?
And Keith is like, why am I stuck with the children?
Oh!
So many reasons, Keith. So many.
Look what he said. Look what he said. I
We're
love it.
adults. We're
I
adults.
love it. How you guys doing? I am now. Oh my gosh.
Ah!
Lord have mercy.
Oh my goodness. All right. So Keith is discussing like how he is in fact going to roast marshmallows in the actual wilderness, and I'm over here being horrified. My friends have actually invited me camping for Memorial Day, and I'm like, guys, y'all
So
realize I am unfamiliar with this whole premise, right?
so if you want to learn more about camping, all you have to do is watch Star Trek 5.
No. No.
I am not that drunk. I'm not that drunk. Although I am almost due for like my yearly like drunken watch of that terrible movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. And I've done a lot of camping, growing up, because I'm Boy Scouts, became Eagle Scout, all that stuff. But it's all right. It's all right until they but I was a lot of people didn't know this, but I was actually kicked out like about 3 years before it was legal for gays to be in Boy Scouts.
Yeah. Well, that was
Yes.
a difficult period after 98 when the Supreme Court ruled that the Boy Scouts of America is allowed to set their own membership rules, which allowed them to kick out people that were,
Yeah.
as they said, not morally straight because it was part of the Scout Oath.
Oh man, every time we did the Scout Oath and they said morally straight, all the Boy Scouts would always look at me.
I mean, to be fair, this is going to be unpopular, but to be fair, yes, private organizations should be able to set their own membership criteria. We should also be able to shame those private organizations.
Yeah, because it's like if you want to do what you want to do, then I should be able to say what I want to say. Like,
I remember about a week after that ruling came down, I was working, or sorry, a month after or so, but I'm working a hot dog stand for Scouts, volunteering, raising money for our Scouts, and a car pulled up with 4 guys in it, and they were all mocking us, saying that they were gay, and we obviously can't serve them hot dogs. Right, guys, we didn't make this rule. I mean,
they say you're supposed to hang your food in trees because bears can't climb trees. Well, guess what? Neither can I. So that tree has to come down.
No,
I felt like we needed a little bit of levity after that because it was getting real serious real fast.
Lord help me. But anyway, hey, so I noticed an interesting not a clip, but a screenshot from the Strange New Worlds trailer.
William, you're like 2 minutes late.
I know.
I know, but like
it.
I want to like y'all talk about it. Like, so y'all saw it. Clearly you saw it. So
I mean, we literally even I even put it up here. Like, everybody be proud. Marie technologied.
I am very happy. I'm very happy about that. That makes me very happy.
I technologied.
The bean footage ran perfectly. She's doing great. She's patting it.
Oh my god!
I mean, nothing terrible happened. I mean, it's amazing. Who knew? Honestly,
so anyway,
I think this good juju is actually because I am in the process of reclaiming the Nerd Cave.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm here for that.
I am reclaiming it. I am purging the darkness from it. It's great.
Nice.
Oh.
I don't think it's all. I don't think that's the response you're looking for here.
Oh, okay.
Because we have seen what happens when you sprinkle your magic, or rather, we have heard the aftermath.
Yes.
Oh man, I was literally watching. I showed a clip to my roommate today, to Alex, the guy you saw last week, and I showed him the clip of Michael saying that they didn't do anything. It was in season 2 of Picard where they didn't do anything with Seven and Raffi's character. And I said, yes, the hell they did. Yes, the hell they did. Marie said, I have to go with William on this one. And then Michael said, don't y'all be jumping down my throat. This is what I got to say. And don't jump down my throat. And then I looked at him and I said, and not in a good way.
I remember that.
Like,
I remember that.
Everyone lost it. Everyone else in the podcast heard it except him.
But Michael Lay just kept on going. God bless him.
He just kept going. He just kept on going. And I'm just like, oh, bless your heart. I kind of want to go to your place of work just to see what you do. See how you do
I
it.
don't even know how to follow that up. So we're gonna go back to Star Trek now.
Oh yeah, because we're Truckers Delight. We are notorious for acting like the TNG crew, where we just go bonkers with all this other stuff. I saw the behind the scenes footage, and very much so, they were acting a damn fool.
The
Like
madness
they
on the bridge,
all of
yeah.
them were.
Yeah.
And I love it. I mean, and that's one of those things that we picked up on, I think, when we were watching it, as kids, is just that level of camaraderie.
Yeah,
And
knowing now from having read Star Trek Memories by Shatner that was fake camaraderie on the original series set, because everyone hated Bill and
Oh
you know
wow.
tolerated him. While
You
Next
know-
Generation, they all really did come together as a family, even though Sir Patrick Stewart was the stick in the mud the first season. Over time, he stopped being the Shakespearean actor that feels like he didn't belong.
And now he puts.
I
out
mean,
the
I gotta
best
tell you,
bloopers.
acting with like an oil slick on the ground certainly has to.
And I think on Deep Space
make
Nine,
you
they just-
reevaluate your life choices.
right, and then on Deep Space Nine, they just like not all of them, but like they slept with each other, and then like had kids.
Well, yeah, technically yes. In
You
the
mean
one
Nana
episode,
Visitor
Cisco,
and Alexander Siddig?
Yeah.
well, in
and
the one
Symphony?
episode, Cisco slept with everybody. So
I mean, there is that. Yes.
yeah,
Oh, there's that. And then in Voyager, I've learned that God, who played Harry? I literally forgot his name. Garrett.
Garrett Wang.
Yeah, right. He was truly the baby of the show, like real shit. Like he was like 24. And he was trying and I heard him say this at a Comic Con or whatever. And he was basically trying to keep the peace between Kate Mulgrew and Jerry, and because they had like this feud going on, and honestly it's not really their fault. It was how they were pinned up against each other as
yeah.
women in Star Trek. As like how do you because Star Trek is notorious, I don't know what it is now, but like back then notorious for having that sex female icon and that sex male icon.
Mhm.
And when you put two women up against each other like that, you're gonna get some animosity. Marie, what would you say to that? Like, was that accurate about what they did in Voyager? And then I think they got over it now.
So
But
I for sure think that that's actually what happened. And Kate Mulgrew has actually talked about how she eventually had to repair that relationship with Jerry Ryan, because she was so angry with what they were doing. And honestly, it makes sense, right? Like because that was very much a Rick Berman kind of thing. We've got to have like the hot chick in the cat suit because obviously people don't watch Trek for the show.
right.
Oh,
Which
So we're just gonna set that aside. But I find it really interesting because there's like a lot of arguments that sex is really important in Trek, and I think that is and isn't true at the same time.
mhm.
So for example, we talk a lot about we talk a lot about how like Captain Kirk apparently laid every alien from here to Alpha Centauri.
Yes.
But the fun thing is on screen he doesn't.
there in the one episode, Blink of an Eye, you see him, kissing the one woman, and then when they come back from commercial, he's putting his boots back on. So that's
Yeah.
They never actually show
anything.
anything.
But if you track it, right? Like if you
Yeah.
track it, Spock gets laid far more often.
Yeah, and he
Then-
smiles far more than every other.
The
cast
only
member, so.
scenes that I have ever noticed, and I might be missing something. I even might be missing something from Deep Space Nine, but the only scenes that stick out to me was the honeymoon scene with Troy and Riker and
Mhm.
the mental rape scene in Violations.
Well, I mean, and you certainly get the waking up in the negligee in All Good Things, or no, it's not All Good Things. It's the episode before, right? Like when Troy and Riker hook up, or not Riker. I mean Worf.
Worf. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
But even then, I mean, it's just
Eye of the
I am not
beholder,
saying
yeah.
I am not saying that there's not a capitalization of sex on sex in Star Trek, right? Because that would be wrong. I mean, we have seen the original series and the outfits.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Turnabout Intruder. We've also
Oh,
seen,
yeah.
like we've also seen some of the craziness in TNG, right?
Mhm.
With all the different things that happen to Troy that are uniquely violating for women.
Mhm.
Because if you think about it, like early Troy, Early Troy gets mind raped. Early Troy becomes forcibly pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And
like I
and
mean,
the,
it's
and then they question whether or not she can even have the child.
right. I mean, there's this
Yeah.
whole yeah. The child is a terrible episode.
It's fitting that that was one that was written for the Phase 2 series, and because of the writer's strike, they did a quick polish on it to make it work for Next Generation.
It would have been honestly the episode would have been okay if they would have brought Ian back like somewhere in Picard and like, hey, because of you, I learned
No,
this about humanity or
No.
something, right?
no, there is no part of that that would be okay.
Like bringing the
No.
alien back.
No, there is literally no part of what happened to Troy that is okay.
Oh yeah.
The only reason, I mean, and it is definitely one of those episodes that doesn't age well.
No.
Oh, okay.
There's actually a lot from that season with Pulaski does not age well on a lot of things.
She does not, but I don't think that's Diana Muldaur's fault.
No, it's definitely
They wrote her to try and be like this
Lady Bones, and
Lady
it's
Bones,
not
like, literally.
effective at all.
But yeah, in Up the Long Ladder, referring to the Morty as, the Irish people as breeding stock. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a girl has to have how many husbands? Yeah, no. Up the Long Ladder is a terrible episode. And the fact that like Colin Meaney was actually on that episode, I mean, he is rolling his eyes almost as hard as Michael Dorn was in Code of Honor.
Yeah.
I'm slightly disappointed we didn't see Alexander. I kind of wanted to know, like, how's he doing?
He's in the comics.
Is he still clumsy?
No.
But I think that's a valid question because, like, you know, one of the things that I had to write a column this week, obviously, because I have to write a column every Thursday, and I was kind of struggling a little bit with coming up with what to write about. And obviously, we are no longer following what I thought we were going to do, but you know, what else is new? And I find myself sort of sitting there and thinking about parent-child relationships in Star Trek and how found family is such a strong theme in all of the franchises.
Maybe I can play as Alexander in Star Trek Legacy.
You're too tall.
Yeah, a Klingon.
No.
Okay.
we have a lot of orphans, or at least a lot of single parent families. I mean, you have from Wesley and Will on Next Generation, and Deanna, and they're
Deanna Luoxana. You've got
Worf with his unique, both his parents.
Worf's a special case, right? Like in Worf and Alexander, you've also got Sisko and Jake. You've got Nog and his father, Rom. A lot of single parents. We don't have a lot of like dual parent households, but even beyond that, it's an interesting kind of conversation about like what we think families look like in the future.
So how would you, even though we have not seen it, aside from Geordi and the Rikers, how would you reevaluate Worf now since the conclusion of season 3? Like, because
as a parent?
It's hard to say as a parent because Alexander wasn't there, but like based on how much he's been working on himself.
Honestly, I mean, Worf is a new age Klingon, and I'm here for it. I'm just waiting for him to bring out like his attuning crystals.
Yeah, we needed to see him properly meditating and not just taking a nap on the bridge. Although honestly, that was lovely.
That was
no. I 100% was there for like Worf snoring on the bridge, right? Like. Because of all of them, Worf has been pulling shifts, man. Like
he's been cutting off heads every Wednesday, debating on whether to send it to them or not. Like,
I mean, he's been running hard on Raffi.
I mean, because I wanted to see like I kind of hope Michael Dorn stated that he would totally continue playing Worf.
Oh no, he's been fighting for this for over a decade now.
Yes,
And
I mean, because he very much wanted the Captain War series, and I
yeah,
gotta tell you, like, I really want, like, and I've said this before, I want defense contractor Black Ops Worf.
Mhm.
yeah, because it's like I want to see like, did you fill up the Enterprise with too many tribbles? Was it really destroyed at that AI thing in Prodigy? Like what
I don't even
happened?
need to know. I don't even need to know any of that.
I want to know.
I am here to see him try to navigate a relationship between Seven and Raffi, like trying to figure out how he's gonna do that.
Honestly, Worf is that uncle. He's that uncle that I feel like everyone wants. Like he's that straight uncle that everyone wants. Like
And
who's
I
just
love
like,
and I love it. I love it. I love it.
yeah.
I literally ended up with a text message from a friend of mine who was like, I am finally watching Picard. And he's like, when did Worf get hot? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Star Trek apparently is just like trying to lock down the the Silver Fox demographic.
Apparently, like because I was here for it. I loved all of it. I'll be honest with you. I go through the comments on YouTube and Facebook of certain scenes on episode 9 and 10. The reunion scene, the Enterprise scene, the fire scene, all of it. And there are several comments saying I played this scene like 50 times while I was at work.
Yeah.
And
And
I was that way too. Like I'm over at work and I'm just playing the scene where Crusher. Can we? I mean, I'm sure we discussed it, but I really want to dive into it. Can we talk about how badass Crusher just done got like torpedoes away, locking phases, and returning fire?
The
And
thing
you
is like, this is
like,
not a done got situation.
yeah.
And that's what really frustrates me is that there's this idea that, you know, Crusher became this character. Crusher was always that kind of person.
I feel like the start of
Does anybody remember like the High Ground?
Oh, that I remember that. I remember she took the captain's seat in that Borg episode where Laura was doing stuff. What was it called?
Descent, part 1.
Yeah,
and 2.
there was
Part 1.
that. And
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
and then there was another where Wesley accidentally trapped her in a different space bubble.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
But there were
Yeah.
chances for her to step up and be stronger, but they ended up getting cut or given to someone else, especially
Yes.
when you got into the movies. So
Yes.
when they released the trailer for this season that included her holding a phaser rifle, Gates McFadden immediately got that screen cap and made that her Twitter profile pic because she
But
was
even
so
then-
happy that they finally let her hold a phaser.
But even then, I mean, I really think she gets criminally underused.
Yeah.
Even then,
And that is one of my primary criticisms of season 3 of Picard, actually, is that, you know, there's this huge emphasis on this relationship between Picard and Jack without really acknowledging Dr. Crusher, like Beverly's influence on this.
Mhm.
right, exactly.
I mean, again, I mean, Picard's the one who's going to go save Jack? Like, no, fuck you. Sit the fuck down. Where were you while I was changing diapers? No. And I say this fully aware of the fact that like she didn't let Picard be part of that.
Right.
Okay? But at the end of the day, I mean, I really
Would you
feel like
have liked-
Picard downplayed that maternal relationship, and that's actually kind of a long running theme in Trek.
Would you have
Yeah.
liked to see Crusher with Picard go up against the Borg Queen in that scene together?
I mean, I gotta tell you, like, I legitimately think Crusher would have given her like the space to take a breath and then like blown her away and been done.
Yeah, because it's like you're
Because
apparently
Crusher
you're a
is
hope.
going to get shit done, and in ways that Picard just didn't.
Because it's
Yeah.
like Picard, if you really think about that scene, Picard was coming to terms with a lot of things about himself in that scene. Like, damn, I really was a shitty father. I was not here for him. And it's not to make this about Picard, but
No.
it's like, what do you think?
But that's exactly
Like,
what the show did. Is it made it about Picard?
well, I mean, that's what it's.
And
I
it
mean-
wasn't so
I
much
mean,
that he was a shitty father. It was him. He had never felt that a child was something he would have. That he
He
felt
didn't
that
even think that he was capable of being loved. Like in
Yeah.
season 2, we found out that he was capable of loving, but but in season 3, now he's capable of being loved. He said, "You're the one thing that I never knew that I was missing."
right, but
Yeah,
that was
but
because
I'm not even really sure that that's what that is.
Yeah.
In fact, I take exception to that.
Mhm.
And this idea that you need to have children to be complete. And I say this as somebody who has kids,
hmm
right? And I would not trade my boys for
Anything.
anything. They're the little shits are amazing and awful
I'm gonna remember that quote. I'm gonna remember
and
that.
difficult and just mind-blowingly awesome all at once. It's a
All at once.
tremendous adventure. But I am no more or less complete for having had kids than I was before. It's literally just a different set of experiences.
Right.
And so I think it is doing Jack an injustice to tell for Picard to say you were the part of me that I was missing, because that almost takes away from Jack as a human being. Like it almost makes Jack a like a verbal extension of who Picard is. And that's not the point of kids, y'all.
Yeah.
That's not. They are independent people. They are separate individuals, and you have to respect their agency and their individuality if you're going to be a good parent.
Do you feel like that legacy will expand on Jack's story as a counselor?
I mean, like it
Like
almost
as far as
it
like
has to.
I mean, yeah, as far as
I-
like giving him the platform. Like right now, season 3 was an introduction to Jack at best. An introduction. Like now in Legacy, I feel like he needs a best friend. He needs a love interest. Somewhere
what
in
I would like to see to come out of this for Jack is I would like Jack to get the opportunity to be something more than
Picard's son.
And that again is also sticking in my craw a little bit because he's Beverly Crusher's kid.
Right. He's Beverly's son more than he is Picard's son.
Right, but we just kind of hand wave that because, women.
Yeah.
I just want to see him meet Wesley, and I want to see them have a conversation.
I think that would be fantastic, and I certainly think Will Wheaton would be on board with that.
Yeah.
Especially since he's technically part of the franchise again.
But I really
closest thing we got to that was the Ready Room episode of them sitting down and talking. So.
Yes.
Which was excellent.
So I gotta tell you, like, I've never actually seen a Ready Room episode.
I haven't. I've seen clips.
Some of them are just, it's like, yeah, we have the person that was on talking about their experiences. Some of them have really unique moments. Like when he had John Delancey on last season, it was great because they were able to mock the episode where they made an older version of Wesley, and it looks nothing like what older Will Wheaton looks like. And
no, I remember that, right? Like, I mean,
he looked like this
taller,
super hot
he was
80s
beefier,
stud.
And yeah, that is not what
he put that on screen and showed that to John Delancey, and he's like, what? It was just hysterical.
Yeah.
But they also have these great little featurettes, and it's been very well worth a watch.
But I gotta tell you, I think that that's one of those things that says more about where we were in the late 80s, early 90s, than it does anything about Will Wheaton, right? Like, because we have this, they're the guy that they picked to play grown ass Will Wheaton is very much in that kind of late 80s, early 90s heartthrob situation. And it's hilarious because that has not aged well.
No.
At all.
Like, we are looking for, I mean, well, we're seeing more of, I think we're actually seeing more of an introduction of the female gaze in television. Mm-hmm. And so there's a very different idea of what is attractive in both men and women, I'd say.
I mean, yeah, but we talked about this in both FTP and LGBT Trek, that a lot of that, well, even though I may not like the path that is taken, at least is some sort of representation for now as we're growing into representation. But women with women is eye-catching for a lot of straight men in America. And they're like, oh wow, I like to see that. So let's put where the
I
money
have
is. Now,
so many real thoughts about that.
Now, I'm not saying that that was the dominant reason for Seven's character in Picard. I actually like the way they took care
No,
of Seven.
I
Yeah.
agree, because that was a legitimate relationship. That was not
real.
played for
You
titillation.
didn't even see them. You didn't even see them do anything. You know,
No.
like
No.
yeah.
No.
Yeah, if it were Berman Trek, it would have been a bit more graphic.
Oh,
But
yeah.
even at the, but even during the Berman era, you know, we're very, very fortunate, right? Because we get that amazing, like, I mean, he didn't care about Deep Space Nine, so we got that amazing episode.
Mhm.
What is it? Rejoined?
Yes.
It was Rejoined. Yeah,
right, which is again not played for titillation. It's played for drama.
It was obvious that Berman definitely had a hand in advertising, because the advertisements tried to play it for titillation, but when you actually watch the episode, it's so much more than that.
Right.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, sorry.
Jason.
Late to the game, but
Hi,
I
Jason.
came.
No, I
good.
mean it is, and I think that we are actually in a situation now where we get to see better representation, as you know, Will was pointing out. That said, there are places I think we need to go, and you know, eventually when I restart FTP, when I have the bandwidth to do that, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, one interesting to compare is the way they aged up Will Wheaton in that episode Next Generation, but as compared to what they did in The Visitor in Deep Space Nine, when you had an older version of Jake, and it's Tony Todd, and now looking at,
and I think it's one of Tony Todd's best roles in Trek, honestly.
Absolutely,
that role was so deep and so great.
But
Like,
if you put side by side an image of Tony Todd back then to Cirroc Lofton now, it's a similar visage. Like they actually tried, even though Tony Todd was pretty much on their Rolodex for any time they needed. So some other person.
Dang, I'm kind of sad we didn't see Tony Todd and Picard at all.
But I gotta tell you, I cannot watch The Visitor anymore.
Yeah,
The Visitor.
Wow.
It hits really hard. It hits very, very differently.
I remember because I remember you told me that at the very end, it's like you're giving this girl your manuscript and she's literally about to disappear in 5 minutes.
It's not even that. I mean, it's just this.
It's the fact that it happened. It wasn't like and Sisko remembers it, and Jake went through actually his whole life, you know,
without his father.
It's more of the sacrifice Jake made, because that is, and again, I'm not holding myself out as the perfect parent, because I don't think a perfect parent exists.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think trying to be a perfect parent is a recipe for making yourself crazy.
Yeah.
But that's not the way the sacrifice is meant to go.
Right.
He went up against Benjamin's wishes in sacrificing himself,
and that's it. And that's really really it. And that's what really.
Sisko kept trying to tell him, "Hey man, stop doing this.
Yeah, let me go. I mean, you live your life. You gave up your chance to have a family, to have a life, because you were tortured by my absence."
But he also made that statement that for the boy that I was, he needs you more than you know. So was that an episode of showing what it would look like, aside from Alexander's case, what it would look like to grow up? I'm sorry, but what it would look like to see another orphan. In this case, I think I don't remember any other characters, but we see another Black orphan here, in which we get a lot in America as it is, but like now it's showing that. Now obviously this is the 21st century,
and obviously that was one of Avery Brooks's real and very serious criticisms of how Deep Space Nine ended, right?
This idea, leaving his son.
Well, this idea of of creating another absentee Black father, when we've had this, I mean, this incredibly rich, supportive, and loving relationship between these two characters, which is huge. And it's huge. It's huge now in the 2020s. It was especially huge in 1993.
Not only two characters, but two people.
Right. I
in
mean,
real life, they played very well.
Well-
I mean, this whole conversation about like we can't take this black father away from his son because like society is literally doing that on the
As
reg.
it is, yeah.
Well,
And they're like,
considering the other fathers and sons we had previously in Star Trek, you saw I mean, Kirk and David. Just
Right.
Seriously,
horrible
like
relationship.
Carol
Eric and
Marcus
Spock.
not telling
Yeah,
Kirk
so
about his
let me get
kid
this
is
right.
like the best idea ever.
So in
Yeah.
Star Trek 3 or Star Trek 2, did he know that Carol had a son?
No.
Yes.
no,
Yeah.
Because
knew.
because
He knew.
Well, I
there's
don't think
he didn't know it was his. He
Yeah.
didn't know
No,
he
he
had
knew.
one.
No, he said, "Is that David?" But he knew that David was his son.
All right,
And
I'm
he
gonna
said,
I
rewatch
do
"You
remember
that.
told me to
I know
stay
what I'm
away,
doing
so I did."
later.
Hmm?
I know what I'm doing later. I need to rewatch that.
Yeah.
Star Trek
No.
2, I believe.
No, he said
yeah.
you asked me to stay away, and I did.
It's the can I cook or what scene.
So
right?
because I've noticed that with Picard
No,
seasons
it's
1 through 3, they borrowed a lot from the original series movies
Yes.
of Kirk's life. They borrowed a lot. The Generations kind of dived into it first a little bit. But as far as like family members dying, and then they did some more and a lot more in the Picards, what they did in Star Trek 1 through 6. But I guess I was like wondering, like, did they borrow David's story? Even though Jack or Wesley didn't die, David did die, and I remembered when Crusher, and this is a little stretch, but I remember Crusher saying, I lost my husband to Starfleet, and I lost my son to the stars. I'm not gonna lose Jack.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if they borrowed it, but Star Trek has had a problem with having these people have families and sons unless a specific story needed it to happen, and then they gave it to you, and then they take it away. I mean, that's what they just
almost Disney level
yeah. It's,
broken family situation.
so they didn't borrow it. That's all they could do, really.
Yeah,
Like none of these people in Starfleet that you see have like families.
Unless it was
No, I mean the
crucial
only
to the
ones.
story.
Yeah, the only ones we really get are like Keiko and O'Brien,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't really know what to do with Keiko. I'm pretty sure I'm on this space is talking about how, after having been a military spouse, that like Keiko O'Brien hit differently
Mhm.
in a lot
I
of
can
ways.
get that. Yeah.
And they had her go off. Was it for a season, or how long did she go off to go?
Oh, she was gone
botanize
for
somewhere?
several episodes at a time. They were just
Yeah.
constantly
Yeah,
coming up
it's
with
just
reasons
like-
for her not to
But
be there.
I'm glad that she came around enough that she had an arc to her story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean they
some-
finally.
Somewhat of an arc.
She had, I don't know about a whole arc, but she had purposes here and there.
I
Like
mean, yeah,
with her and
'cause it's
Kai
like-
Because
fighting
that's, I
over.
mean, and that's actually what really hit for me is because, like, as a military spouse, you move, between every year to every 3, right?
Mhm.
And you're not really necessarily guaranteed the ability to find. I mean, yes, you have preference, blah 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 blah, to find employment and to have it's very difficult to have a career and be expected to move like that. And so like watching Keiko O'Brien kind of cobble together this this life,
Right.
it really spoke to me, especially since she'd gone from being an incredibly storied botanist.
Mhm.
Y'all, I mean, Keiko was aboard the Enterprise because
Mhm.
she was good at her shit.
Yep.
Yes, she was a great teacher.
And then
It's not even a great teacher. No, dog. No.
There's a
She was an
botanist.
amazing botanist.
Oh yeah, she was into botany
yeah,
on the
she ran
Enterprise.
she ran the Arboretum on the Enterprise.
Right.
She was not there because she was O'Brien's wife, because they
Mhm.
didn't get married until the episode Data's Day. In fact, that was the
Yep.
first time we
That's
ever
right.
saw
That's
her.
when they got married.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But she was already there as a non-Starfleet member of the crew. She's not a member of Starfleet, but she was this esteemed botanist that they touched on in Deep Space Nine.
Hmm.
That's why
And then
one
she
of the
gets
excuses.
stuck in this backwater assignment because this was good for Miles's career.
Yep.
It's not great for hers. She becomes a teacher because she needs something to effing do.
Yeah,
Right,
because
and that
it's
wasn't
like
her job.
even though currency is still a thing in the 24th and 25th century, money as we know it,
It's not
It's
money
not
that's the
money.
issue. It's that
yeah,
she
she
needs
was
something to
bored and she
do.
needed something to do. She
Yeah.
made that really clear. She couldn't do projects anymore. She needed to get back into her career.
Well,
And
that's why they
and there
had
was
her
a
go
period
off.
and there was a period in my life where we moved,
Mm.
like every 11 months.
Oh,
So
I
that's
know
a lot.
that in the end that Miles went to go teach at Starfleet Academy. What did Keiko end up doing
You don't
back
know.
on Earth?
You never
Oh, we
said.
don't know because who the hell cares?
Right.
Right.
She didn't have enough story going on for it to.
Yeah, I just remember the biggest story, even though I remember all of them. The one that stood out the most to me was when she was possessed by the Wraith.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I thought that a lot of us thought, and I'm kind of glad they did it that way. That Jack was a Wraith, possessed Wraith, and some shit happened. Like that's what I thought. But I kind of like it when they take it one way, they make you think something, but then they go the other way. But they didn't just rip the script in half and just say, "Oh, this." If you really think about it, it's like, "Oh yeah, that does kind of make sense." Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of been interesting. Like what I ended up writing about this Thursday was Amanda Grayson, who is this really fascinating character that clearly has a storied history
mm,
of capability, but is largely used to forward other character storylines.
Yep.
We get a
Who is
lot
she?
of that with mothers.
Who is she?
She's Spock's mom.
Oh, Amanda Grayson. Okay.
Sarek's first wife.
Right. And she's literally listed as being Sarek's first wife.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're literally talking about somebody who in Discovery, like, God bless Mia Kirshner, she did amazing work with that role. Like, we're talking about somebody who stole records from Starfleet and then absconded with her husband's diplomatic shuttle and said, "Fuck you, I'm going to get this done."
Yep. And then
Mhm.
hid Spock on Vulcan when she finally was able to track him down and
Right?
hide him in
Right?
the family shrine. Yeah.
Well, originally they didn't give women that much oomph in their character. They have that sort of
Yeah.
audacity.
You know,
to do something
I
like
don't
that.
necessarily think that's fair because going back and watching Journey to Babel, Jane Wyatt is actually able to do some amazing shit with Amanda Grayson as a character. I mean,
Yeah.
she brings a lot of strength. She brings a lot of fire. Like at one point, she smacks Spock, which questionable parenting aside,
Well, he's
she
an
also
adult
stands
by
up to
then.
Sarek and
Yeah.
tells him he's being stupid,
mm.
and we get to see her tell him that he's overreacting.
Yeah.
Which in what was that? That was season 2, right? So that's like what,
67.
67, 68? That's huge. Huge.
I think I need to continue the original series again now.
Also, fun fact about Jane Wyatt, she ends up getting blacklisted from Hollywood
Yeah.
What?
because she protested the House Un-American Activities Commission.
Wow.
And
Yeah, she was legit awesome.
wasn't
Is she still
married
alive?
to?
No, she's not.
Okay.
No.
I think she died in 2006.
Yep. October
Oh,
20,
this is
2006, age
before the
96.
reboot. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and when Sarek was on Next Generation, he had a new human wife named Perrin.
Because Vulcans can live so long, they live double what humans live. So
Yeah.
So I think that had something to do with it, yeah.
Yeah.
Why did I think that she was attached to Ronald Reagan at some point?
I don't know. Because I don't remember anything like that.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, she was married to Edgar Ward from
Maybe they went to acting class
1935 to
together.
2000.
Or is there something else I wanted to bring up? I forgot.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to bring anything up, we have about 7 minutes to do it. So
I'm really thinking. I really wanted to bring something up. Not hell with it. It doesn't matter. So,
Okay,
sometimes I forget how good this mic is.
I mixed up
Jane
Wyatt with Jane Wyman, which is
There you
Reagan's
go.
first wife.
There you go. Yeah, no, like Jane Wyatt was pretty much on the side of the Angels for that one.
Yeah.
Do we have any? Even though I'll probably cover this in the beginning. Do we have any new news?
Yes, we did in fact cover that.
I figured.
I do
Oh,
have
you
one
relate
other.
too? I wasn't the only one.
No, you're not.
I came in like
No,
17.
it was literally amazing. Like we had just finished talking about a screenshot, and then like William comes on, is like, I want to talk about the screenshot, and we're like, dude, that was so 2 minutes ago.
And I was like, dang.
I do
Okay.
have one piece of news that I didn't get to yet, actually. And
Mm.
that is they've been slowly releasing the ratings, and the ratings as of the next to final week of April, which is the week that the finale aired. Picard is the number 9th most watched show in the world.
Really?
On stream.
So
Top
just
10.
just season 3, right?
With
No, I think he means like
In
of
the
that
world.
day.
Not just
No, well, they
Paramount
said
Plus,
that
but we're talking
week
about
it
all
had-
streaming platforms.
let's see, top 10 streaming original programs. Number 9, Star Trek Picard, with 30 episodes, 400 minutes. Is
Do
total
you know what
minutes
was
viewed.
one?
throughout
I'm
a
kind
week.
of curious now.
Yeah, I want to know
Number
what number one
one
is.
was The Diplomat on Netflix,
I haven't even heard of that.
but it was Picard right behind The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
I gotta tell you, like the Diplomat is definitely on my list.
It's on mine too. I'm just
Right now, I'm still catching up on Blacklist.
Well, being
Right now
top
I'm
10 ain't
watching
bad.
Ted Lasso,
No.
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and Silo.
Yeah, can we also have a conversation about the fact that I mean, I know Keith used the term, and I suspect you were quoting like the current golden age of Star Trek,
Yes,
which I suspect they applied to themselves.
yes.
But it's still huge. It's still huge that Star Trek is in the top 10, as Jason points out, right? Like, I mean,
yeah.
that would never have happened when we were watching TNG or Deep Space Nine or Voyager.
I was about to ask, like, I understand that those shows rarely overlapped. They only lapped for like what between TNG to Deep Space Nine to Voyager and a little bit of Enterprise.
There was
but-
no overlap between Voyager
but-
and Enterprise.
No.
Okay, no, there was no lap. Okay,
No.
so
No, it
so
was-
back then, what like happened? Like that? How did y'all know that it was other than fan letters and Comic Cons? How did y'all know that it was like the top this or the most
It-
viewed or
You
how
would
did?
have to read. You didn't know that unless you read about
Yeah.
it in like TV
In
Guide
what?
or a Star Trek.
There was the
Fans.
Nielsen
Occasionally,
rating.
TV Guide, Reader's Digest would occasionally release information.
Parade magazine.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
I thought
Oof.
I thought
Ooh, we're
everybody
old.
watched
Uh,
TNG. I thought everybody watched TNG like I did.
That's great.
And then I go to school on Monday and be like, "Hey, did you watch In Living Color? Yeah. Did you watch Star Trek?" They're like, "What? What are you talking about?"
I know.
There was
I
a couple months where
know.
my family was a Nielsen family, but we didn't get one of the boxes. We got the books, and we had the
Oh,
books that we were
wow.
supposed to write. I would write in what I was watching on on the kids' room TV, on our bedroom TV, and then my brothers would get it and get the books. And since I wrote in pencil, they would erase everything that I watched
Wow.
because it was quite a few hours of Star Trek.
Dang.
Sounds just
I mean,
mean to
yeah.
me.
It to this day, it's really funny because I distinctly remember like working in a cubicle farm for a while, and one of the guys would be like, "So I caught this Star Trek episode, but I could only watch like 5 minutes of it. But here's what happened in the first 5 minutes. Marie, do you know what happened?" Yes,
Yes. Yes.
yes, I did. Um,
And if you missed it, you just missed it. Or
Yeah.
you unless you had to
Well,
talk to
no,
somebody
no.
else.
In me growing up in Pittsburgh, we had a couple different stations that showed it at different days.
yes.
So,
Oh.
like, if you missed it, if you missed when Channel 9 showed it on Tuesday night, you could catch it when Channel 11 showed it on Thursday night.
Yeah, but that was the syndication part, right? Like the
Right.
new stuff only aired what, like Thursday? I want to
I
say.
can't even remember. I mean, I know Voyager was Mondays because it was the heart of the new UPN schedule.
Right, but I think I was like, I think my
Yeah.
Voyager status, like, I mean, seriously, like Voyager, I think I was in college and they didn't have a
I
TV.
remember watching Voyager and Enterprise on, from what I
UPN.
remember.
I'm gonna hate you right now.
UPN
UPN.
and Sci-Fi.
Like I already know I'm gonna hate you.
It was UPN and it was Sci-Fi. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
like
but you
I
wouldn't-
missed most of I actually started Deep Space Nine and then finished it after college.
So I
Mm.
was the same. I didn't get into Deep Space Nine until college.
See,
me
Marie, we
too.
have something in common. I literally binge watched all of Star Trek in college.
I was not watching any Star Trek. Like I was not watching Star Trek in college. In fact, like
Oh.
I was trying very hard to fly fast and low under the nerd radar.
Yeah.
My
here.
friends will tell you that I failed.
Yeah. I'd be in the newspaper office on Wednesday nights, and we would go from watching Enterprise to watching The West Wing,
Oh,
and
yes.
everyone would just tolerate me
I
watching
cannot wait
Enterprise.
to catch up on The West Wing. I love
So
it.
good.
So good.
Guys, we actually made it to the hour mark.
I'm
Like-
impressed actually because I was initially thinking, what do we have to talk about? And we have gone all kinds of places and done all kinds of weird things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. With a steady 2 to 3 people watching. Hello.
Right. Hello. Welcome to the show. Welcome back. The regulars.
But
But
yeah,
anywho.
it is really funny to think about it, right? Like, I mean, I don't know if anybody else does this, but like Facebook Watch has been showing me like really ancient episodes of
Mm.
Law and Order.
Okay.
Mm.
And when I say really ancient episodes, I mean like seasons 1 and 2.
Oh, wow.
And it's crazy because I'm watching these guys like go to payphones and
Mhm.
or grabbing phones in their offices or having to write things down on notebooks, right? Like nobody's got a phone.
Yeah.
And it's
They're trying to solve cases.
Well, if you go back and watch the first few seasons of Friends, which I do not recommend that anybody does.
yeah, no, peace out, Melvin
tho-
Ricketts. No.
those shows do not hold up at all because basically that and Seinfeld whole episodes would be wiped out by a single smartphone.
Yeah, but I will tell you this.
No, but they're still fun. I mean, Seinfeld's still funny. This first season, it's still hilarious to me.
I mean, I will legit say that some of the episodes from Law and Order still work.
Yeah.
Like there's an early one where they have a white supremacist shooter,
Mhm.
and it is exactly the sort of thing that Dylan Roof would say.
Yeah. I never got into Law and Order, but it was just one of those things that mom always watched.
It's
Like
one of
she
those
loved
things
it.
that you might not like. A lot of times, I wouldn't look to watch it, but once I watched the first, before the first commercial, okay, now I just gotta know what the next scene is.
I know. I
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
But it's
Dun, dun.
crazy. It's crazy to think that like my kids are going to be confused by the concept of commercial breaks. They're going to wonder
If-
like why,
Yeah.
when they're binging these episodes, they're going to wonder why there was this weird break in the middle of the show.
Well,
Well,
a lot of
like the
places don't,
music would ramp up, and then the show would come to a stop, and then start right up again, and it's like, but yeah,
You're
And
like,
a lot
why?
of- a lot of
and
shows
how that commercial breaks last longer than the actual clips in the shows now. Like
Or even with something like Trek, right? I mean, Best of Both Worlds Part 1 works because they knew we were going to have several months of stewing.
they wanted to keep everyone in their seats on edge, right? Because
Right.
they didn't know
4
whether
months.
Patrick Stewart was going to leave the show or not. At the
well, they
time.
didn't even know if the show was going to come back or not.
Yeah.
That was a Hail Mary. They didn't know if anybody was coming back.
So basically, they dropped the ultimate nugget, probably the biggest. Would you say that was like the biggest cliffhanger of them all? Like Best
For
of Both
Star
Worlds?
Trek, yes.
I remember throwing things at the television, and fortunately I was watching like this old, y'all, let me tell you about this thing. It was one of the first color TVs.
Okay.
It was in the full-on wooden box, the wooden frame.
Oh, I
Okay.
love those.
I
Mhm.
remember those.
I was allowed to watch it in the library because I cared about Star Trek, and literally no one else in my family did. So like they were like, Marie, go. just go. So I am literally like screaming at the television, and my mom's like, what the hell is going on with you?
Mm.
And I'm like, Captain Picard, board, and mom's like, I'm gonna need you to speak English.
And like they were talking about earlier, you were talking about earlier, William. You wouldn't know what was going on unless you were a hardcore fan enough to buy a magazine specific
Oh
to that.
man.
And
Yeah.
then you
Because
just have
there were
that one
no-
publication. You just have
Like,
I was
one
going to say,
publication.
so it had to have been the magazines, the TV guide, the newspapers, things like
It
that.
chose what
Or-
story you get to see. You didn't get this free reign of information that people are just going to shove.
Or
it to
if you were
see.
super lucky, you would get an opportunity to get in on some of the mailed fanzines.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I've got a couple of them that I've found at one of the comic shops I go to. They had a couple and picked them up.
Some of those were intense.
Yeah.
I gotta say, to piggyback on what Marie just said, and then I know we have to go. I had that moment that Marie spoke about. Now it wasn't like a cliffhanger type Picard type thing, because at that point I hadn't seen Best of Both Worlds yet. It was Timeless, the Voyager episode,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
and it went to commercial break right after it crashed into the ice planet. Right after Voyager crashed, I screamed, and I must have been like 13. I screamed, I lost it, and I ran, and I didn't know that my mom was also watching it in the other room. I had no idea. And so we both came out at the same time, met each other in the hallway, and I said, Mom, oh my God. And I had no idea she was just matching my energy, because, that was a awesome, I ain't gonna lie, that was probably one of the best mother-son
yeah.
mother-son
But
moments of my
they
life.
also wrote those shows, just like now they write shows. So at the end of the show, you want I want to watch the next show. They actually wrote those
Right,
shows because
right.
Yeah.
they knew every commercial break, and they
See,
knew to put
Which
that
which
filler break.
brings us back to this question of nexus between technology and creativity, right? Like, because back in 1990, when we were wrapping up Next Generation, or we were in the middle of Next Generation, we didn't have this concept, like this idea of streaming, right?
Yeah, like what is streaming? What was Netflix? What was what was DVDs? Like
Like
early
none of
90s
that.
Early 90s, you would have, if you could rent VHS tapes, but if you had,
Blockbuster, bitches.
but if you lost
Literally.
that tape, you're talking $20-$30 to
Yep.
replace it.
Yo, the best Christmas gift I have ever received in my life. I'm not gonna say how old I was, because Marie will boot me out.
T-Bone.
But the best Christmas, it was in the 90s.
You make
and
me
I
sound
do-
irrational.
Right. I was in the 90s, and I do remember it. Okay. Mom got me four VHS tapes, and it must have been 2 different Christmases. I must be missing stories, but I'm gonna pretend it's one Christmas. In one box, there was Barney and Adventures in one side, and The Lion King 2 on the other side. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is dope. It's pretty nice. That was the Christmas Eve gift. The Christmas Day gift was even better. The Christmas Day gift was even though it's not well liked now, to someone that was my age back then, he didn't care. It was Star Trek Insurrection.
Mm.
I didn't know that they even made another Star Trek movie. I was content with Generations and First Contact. Like,
that hurts. That hurts.
well, I was, you got to talk. Marie, I was.
I remember seeing like
The Baku.
when I was a kid. I remember seeing. Well, not even a kid. Like I was. I mean, we're not going to talk about how old I was, because I don't want to think about
You're
it.
a teenager.
I think I was in high school.
Oh, a teenager.
Like
Right.
seeing Star Trek Insurrection on the marquee at Ashley Cinemas.
Well, I remember going to see Generations in the theater, and I think my ticket was number 11 to go see it on opening night at my local theater. So when First Contact came out, I wanted to be first. And of course, my mom was like, the movie doesn't start for an hour. Why do you want to go to the theater now? Because I got to be first. And I ended up being like
You gotta be
123. But this is how much of a drop off that was after that. Was I did not see Insurrection in theaters. In fact, the first time I watched Insurrection was when it was out on VHS. I
Right.
remember watching it in the little TV in my bedroom, eating pizza. And then Nemesis. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I spoke it on
I also I saw Insurrection in theaters, and I hated it so much that when the movie that shall not be named came out, I did not go.
I didn't see the other movie until after. In fact, the ending of the movie had been spoiled to me by my best friend before I got a chance to actually see it.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say, I had a similar reaction, and that's a very unpopular opinion, but I had a similar gut-wrenching reaction when I saw the 2009 reboot.
Fair enough.
So I was in the 9th grade. and I went out, took my boss's truck because she was a Trekkie too, took some money, and I said, I'm going to go see this movie. I'm going to go see this movie.
I got out of work from my job at the Phillips Collection here in DC and met up with friends in Chevy Chase. I mean, not Chevy Chase. At the theater just outside DC border to go see Star Trek 09.
I did that with I'm betting we saw it at the exact same theater because that's where I saw
Friendship Heights.
it was Friendship Heights, and I saw oh gosh, Into Darkness, and that was the theater that was, and it was, remember when that hurricane came through?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And it was almost shut down for that hurricane. It was literally a press promo, and that was the press promo where the dude is looking at me like, well, I bet you don't even know who Khan is. You must be waiting on your boyfriend.
Oh, how about that?
Bitch.
Sorry, Marie. You deserve better.
It's not even that. It's just like, I'm looking at him like, are you talking about Space Seed? You know, Ricardo Montalban?
Right.
And yeah, would you like me to tell you what happens or what? And then it was hilarious because like they let the press in, and this dude is just like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. And I wave my press badge and I like walk in, and he's left standing outside the door when it closed. It's amazing.
Then let me in. Hook me up.
It's like, no, nah, bro.
No.
Nah.
Nah.
And in fact, I still have like the promo Into Darkness like materials, including like the Vengeance. They actually did like a glow in the dark poster.
Cool. I have the Micro Machines version of the Vengeance.
Oh
yes, that was the last time they did Star Trek toys for a while.
Man.
You know, speaking of Into Darkness, it kind of remains my it remains my favorite cinematically. It's not canonically, but cinematically, it remains my favorite of the three because
Why?
they actually took their time with the Enterprise falling to Earth, even though it never failed. Like, they took their time with it, and I like that because they don't do that anymore. Which brings me to Strange New Worlds when I saw a clip of what I'm guessing it's either another Constitution class or it's the Enterprise falling into the planet, and I'm like, oh, we're getting another Enterprise destruction scene. Please do it much better than Beyond. Please do it much better. Like, because that was just
is that when they popped right back up out of the clouds?
No. I'm just, like in Beyond, the ship actually crashed. Like,
no, I mean in the darkness, didn't they go?
Oh yeah. And in the darkness, the ship came back up with the cloud, but it wasn't that scene. It was the scene. It was the part. I didn't believe the scene until Anton Yelkin was like falling and sliding. You could clearly see his foot was on a cable, but like sliding across the floor. And then he said, no, and it's just falling down, and
they would be pinned against the wall.
I like it.
That's too soon.
I like it when
too soon.
I understand CGI is a thing, but I love it when you take the time to film a scene. Don't just make it 2 minutes and then fly back up out of the clouds. No, give it like a good 7-8 minutes. Like, make it bad.
I bet a falling ship was a Battlestar Galactica falling towards Earth. That was a great scene. Okay, we can move on.
We are at an hour and 15. So, quick wrap up. Any final thoughts?
I don't even know what the first thoughts were. So,
I mean, that's fair.
I think Strange New Worlds comes out.
I don't know what the first thoughts were.
June
Theoretically,
15th.
I was here.
So June 15th, right?
Yep. We are less than a month away from Strange New Worlds.
Okay.
It looks like we will definitely still be getting Lower Decks and Prodigy this year, even with the writer's strike.
Nice.
And
I mean, because it's already been done, right?
Well, yeah, because they're basically doing the recording and the artwork now, and we let off 51,000 signatures now on the petition for Star Trek Legacy. So if you have not already signed it,
go do it.
Do it.
Go do it now.
Yes, it's as Marco pointed out, 49,000 of those signatures were Marie. So if she can do it 49,000 times, you can too.
Yes. All right, folks. And next time, I promise, we will actually talk about the writer's strike and why it's important.
Oh, yeah. I would have loved to cover that. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But as always, leave your comments, like, share Share us with your
subscribe. Let
friends.
us know what you'd like to see. Let us know what worked, what didn't, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Bye.
Aces,
See ya.
bye.
Click.
That awkward moment when you
Y'all,
say
I'm
bye.
working on it, man.
The-
Like-
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not gonna ever say it on the internet. Yeah, never. yeah.
Oh my God.
I was watching-
I'm sorry. Wait. There was a shadow of a church.
Okay. What?
William has
Okay,
questionable
I didn't
ideas
catch
about
that
what he
one.
puts.
I didn't
William
catch
has
that
questionable ideas about what he puts on the internet.
Oh, I remember that episode.
Uh-huh.
I remember that episode. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wait, what? Wait.